Hi, this is Don Schaefer. Excited to be with you again. We've got a tremendous program for you today. It's going to be able to give you the opportunity to achieve great things in your life. This is a personal transformation series we're working on right now. And we've been using Romans chapter 12, verses 1 and 2, just to talk a little bit about the fact that Paul was saying that you need to not be conformed to this world, but you need to transform your mind, that you might be able to prove the perfect and acceptable will of God that He has created just for you. And that's where we've been going through a series now with the understanding that we all have to be transformed in some way or some fashion. And we've been looking at our mind as a source of all that. And what I put together here this season here is upgrades, looking at us as a computer that we're born in this world with a hard drive, and it gets programmed. As children, we're programmed. As adults, we're programmed to do and act the way we are. We are who we are unless we can change how we see things and we can implement new things into our life. And that's what this one is all about. It's called Setting Standards 2.32. You know, God is about to do the supernatural in your life. And I got a quote here from Tony Robbins, and it goes like this: set high standards for yourself and don't settle for anything less. You are the best judge of yourself and your capabilities. So we're going to be talking about how to achieve things into your life, and setting standards is a big part of just doing that. That's where you set your standards and you reach your goals will become a whole lot easier when those standards are set. Most people who set goals have few standards. You know, I set a goal, I got a New Year's goal or whatever it might be, but they don't even think about the standards. We're going to try to explain that a little bit. Many have some sorts of standards, but they're very low. You know, there's standards in your life of things that you will do and will not do. And you need to look at everything that you would set a goal for. You need to say, well, what is it that I need to do to achieve this? What type of standards do I need to set up for myself? Because I know the goal by itself won't achieve itself. Not if I behave the same way I've always behaved. If I wanted something in my life and never achieved it and always fallen short, well, there must be a reason for that. Well, yeah, maybe I haven't set some standards. Maybe my standards are way too low. Maybe I need to up the game a little bit. You know, we have to remember that standards are not goals. Standards are the implement or the part that achieves the goal. It is standards go hand in hand with the actions that you take. I will do this and do that, and I will do this and not do that. You know, it's just the actions that you take. Those are your standards. You see, and that's where standards and goals, they go together. It's like a coin. There's a back side and a front side. You know, they're not the same. They're on opposite sides, but they have to go together. So to be able to achieve a good goal, you need to set up some standards for yourself. And you must be ready to be able to reset your standards. And that's where we're going to be talking a little bit about that. We need sometimes to look at ourselves and say we need to reset the standards we once have. Because if we're not achieving what we feel we should achieve, there's reasons for that. And that's where I'm hoping that we can touch on some of those today and give you an opportunity to see life in a different way. Because your standards will create the actions propelling you towards your goals. You know, it creates the actions. Okay, I've got a whole new set of standards. I get up at a certain time now. You know, I work a little harder at this, whatever it might be. It's putting a little actions. This is what's going to propel me. Reaching your goals will be the byproduct of your standards. So someday when you look back and you say, hey, you know what? I achieved my goal. Well, yeah, you actually achieved your standards. And the goal was a byproduct because you set up the proper type actions. And you'll find that your standards generate your action plan. So once you say, you know what, I need standards, okay, what type of action plan is it? They're one and the same. You know, this is what I will do to do this or to achieve this. It's more than just setting a goal. It's setting up some standards to get there. And that's where it's almost like going up a set of stairs. You can't miss a step. You need to look at your life and say, these are the steps that I need to take. I can't go missing any steps because I'll fall flat on my face. You know, and that's where a lot of times the world says, you know, you need to update your goals. But I say you need to update or reset your standards if your life is not going someplace. For some reason, you've set yourself up and you need to change your standards and the things that you will do to do that. I know in my own personal life, when there's things I wanted to do, and I set standards for that. I go for a walk. I do that a lot. I go for a walk with early mornings and stuff like that. But I set up the standards to do that. I set out my tennis shoes, all the stuff I need to, and I set up the action plan, and I get out there and do it. Putting this together, it took some standards. It took me processing all of this, saying, this is what I will do, this is what I won't do. I will give up this time. I will make sure that I take time to study, to understand, to implement, to try some of this out so it's worthy enough to be able to be recorded and given to you. I set standards for this stuff. I set standards for all areas of my life. I put out newsletters. I put out video clips. I do all this stuff. But I've set up high standards for myself. They're not just wishes. They're not just a goal that I say, you know what, I'm hoping to do this or whatever. No, a lot of times my standards include a date. I will say by such and such date, this is part of my standard here. At a certain date, I am going to achieve this. Now, what steps do I need to do to achieve it? We've had a lot of stuff through our life, Shirley and myself. We put up dinner nights with a purpose for married couples. We set a date for it. We've never missed a date. We have set up parenting programs and Parenting 101. We took parents through a series. We've done a lot of different things, but we set up standards. These are things that we had to do for this to work. It wasn't just having a wishful goal and saying, I'm going to sit back and watch it all come to pass. No, I need to figure out just what am I willing to give up to achieve that. And that's where you must decide what you're willing to tolerate, because a lot of times achieving in life is not easy. And this is the key to a lot of this is how much are you willing to tolerate, because you should never set up standards that are so low that are just easy for you. It just comes together. Your standards should be challenging. It should be something that requires something of you. Anything other than your standards will not be tolerated. So once you set up a challenging set of standards, anything besides that will not be tolerated. You don't sit back and say, I wish to lose so much weight and this and that. No, I have set up a standard for myself that I am going to exercise, I'm going to eat properly, I'm going to do everything that I need to do. I am going to find out what is necessary to do. I am going to look at other people, talk to other people, whatever the avenues are. I need to set a personal standard for me to achieve my goal. Otherwise, it's just a bunch of words, and for what you tolerate is what you will get. See, you have to be acceptable to you. What is acceptable to you in your life? What is not acceptable? A lot of times I tell families, parents, married couples, you need to set up standards sometimes. You need to say, in our relationship, we want it to be great. This is what's acceptable, this is what's not acceptable. Because we know that if we get into this area here, it's not going to be good. So we set up some standards. They become like a boundary. They become an action plan of how we develop our relationship. It's standards all over the place where we set ourselves up and put a plan together. And that's where sometimes, in life, things come across that are not good. And our standards tell us this is not good. Even in your relationship with other people. I know I worked with a gentleman one time and he said, Don, he says, silence is acceptance. If somebody is going against what you have set up in your life as a standard of how you want to be treated and they're not treating you well, you need to say something about that. You need to do something about that. You don't accept that. You don't allow that. See, good standards will keep you in a safe place, will keep all that are around you in a safe place, because eventually people will know what your standards are. They will know what to expect from you. And that's where standards are, even in business. Companies, they set goals, but they don't have some standards of how they're going to achieve it, how they want their employees to think, how they're going to treat their employees, how they're going to encourage their employees, what they're going to allow and what they're not going to allow. All these are standards. And once they're set in place everything flows well. Everybody knows the standards. They know what they need to do, because they've got standards. And then they achieve goals. And the goals are just a byproduct of the steps that they're taking to achieve all that. This is powerful. Goals without standards are just words without direction. Yeah, without setting a goal, just a bunch of words. And you hear that so many times. People, I set this goal for myself, and in your mind you're saying, yeah, right, you did. And that's where you'll never reach your dreams without standards. A lot of people dream about things, wanting to achieve things. A lot of this needs to be taught to people at a young age. When they get out of college or whatever it might be, a lot of them have big aspirations of this and that, but they haven't set the standards to achieve. How much are they willing to do? When your dreams and goals and standards are in harmony, everything goes well. You get everything flowing well. How much are you willing to do? You look at pro athletes, and you look at the regiment that they go through to become. It isn't like a couple times a week they go out and play ball or whatever it might be. No, they set standards for themselves. And I remember Coach Saban for Alabama. A lot of coaches coach and they say, we're going to practice this until we get it right. And what his terminology was, we are going to practice this until we can't get it wrong. And he's won more championships than any other coach. And that's where our life needs to be in a position that we're trying to achieve a goal. We set up standards. We set up actions that we're going after. We are going to work these until they're right, until we can't get them wrong. They are ingrained in us. We are walking standards, walking in this world. There are things we do. If we need to read, we're going to read. We're going to spend time reading. I hear people that say, I want to write a book. Okay, what do you need to do? You need to write. I've listened to writing coaches. They says you need to write every day. It isn't, just wishing that you're going to put a book together and all of a sudden, I get an inspiration 2 weeks from down the line. Maybe I'll write a chapter. No. If you are truly sincere, you're going to set up a standard saying, you know what, every day I'm going to set some time aside and I'm going to write. Whether it's going to be accurate, whether it needs to be changed, I don't care. I am going to exercise myself and set up a standard as a writer. And that's where any area of your life, you need not only to have a goal and wish for something, you need to set up some standards of what you're going to do to achieve that. And don't vary in it. This is your standards. If you need to take out a piece of paper and write them down, this is what I do. This is me. This is my standards. That's where we need high standards and boundaries in our life. It keep us in line because it's so easy to get sidetracked. I know this world is nothing but advertisement. I mean, you get onto social media. I mean, you can waste a half a day on social media. It's nothing but distractions and being sidetracked. But if you set up the proper standards, you can say, this is me. I don't do this. I do this. This is what I want to achieve. These are the goals I'm going after. And again, as I say, people around you will realize this is just what you do, and they will make room for you. Because what happens a lot of times, it's much like a ship. You got a destination, you got a dream, and you can hop on that boat. But there's one element in that boat that's going to get you to where you want to go, and that's called the rudder. Very small part of the boat, but without that, it'll never reach its destination. It'll find the destination, but it won't be necessarily where you want to go. And that's where our life, what standards do, they become our rudder. They become our directing tool. They become something that we set in life saying, this is what I'm going to do, and this is what I'm not going to do. And I'm going to change my life. I'm going to reset. I'm going to reset my thinking process. I'm going to say, these are the principles. These are the directions. These are the tools I'm going to use to achieve what I want and desire in life. And I know the world is looking for people who are able to do something of this nature, to be able to set standards, to be able to gear themselves up to achieve things in life. Because there's goals. Everything we see that was greatly put together, there was standards involved. There was things and discipline, all this stuff put together to achieve these things. A lot of it I'm very grateful for. I am very grateful for some of the stuff people have put together that I use, that they had standards enough not only to have a dream, but to put together and make it happen. And that's where we must be clear on our motivation to developing strong standards. We won't be trying anything, we'll be doing it. So we have to realize that we have to be clear on what is motivating us to develop these standards. Because a lot of our goals and dreams and stuff, if we're not motivated, if we really don't want it, it is hard to set up some regimented standards. But if it's something that is motivating, and that's where I'm hoping, that this can be a motivational clip, but that it speaks to your motive, because every one of us has a motive. And if we can reach those motives, we can find big enough reasons and good enough reasons to achieve what we're trying to achieve. And that's key. That's key. You got to have a big enough want to inside you. And then you have to say, what are my standards? What do I need to do and set up to achieve that? I got a big dream. I live the dream. I put the dream out there. I post it on the wall. I write it. I talk to people about it. I do everything to keep this dream alive. I want this thing to live, but I need the standards. I need to set up the do's and the don'ts in my life to achieve that. And that's where you need to understand your why. Why am I doing this? Why am I trying to achieve? Most of it should be for other people. Where we've been created to help and serve other people. And if we can get a big enough why, because I know there's loved ones in my life and stuff that, they are a big why as far as the things I do. People in my life, I feel like I can help them. It's a big why. Okay, I got a why now. I've got a dream of doing something now. What type of standard? What am I going to give up? What am I going to develop in me to achieve this? How am I going to discipline me? What type of boundaries am I going to put around? Because I know I have to be honest with myself why I'm doing this. Because it isn't a whim. And the beauty and the ugliness. The beauty is we can have a rich, filled life. The ugliness is not putting some of this stuff into use in our life. All of a sudden we drift. And all of a sudden time goes by. Money, you can lose it and make it back again, but time, you lose it, it is gone. And many years go by and you say, I really never achieved a whole lot because I never heard a message called setting standards, that I need to set something in my life, the do's, the directions, the things that I do, and I have to be honest with myself. Maybe I'm lacking on this. Maybe I need this, because this is important stuff. Things are put together and things are lost just because of this. And that's where we have to remember this is your journey and it belongs to you. This is the journey you are on. It's all about you and what you want to do with your life. This is the whole process that we're working here, because it is all about what we want to be in life. And that's where we are hardwired, and sometimes we have to be changed. And a lot of times, we get ourselves in a position where we find change hard. But the beauty of all this is that we can change. And that's where our Savior came along and he said, you know what? You are hardwired in different ways, but I want to give you some programming here. I'm going to give you an understanding. People were excited because there was a whole new way of life, a good news, setting up standards, for your life to be able to achieve what you want. And that's where you find yourself competing against yourself. You're not competing against anything else. It's yourself. If it's easy and if it's whatever you're putting together, sometimes it's not challenging enough. You need to have challenging standards because you're competing against yourself, and it's your deal. It's your gig. It's what you're trying to do, and that's where this process here is very helpful. Setting up a good, solid standards, because it helps you create the actions that will achieve the goals and dreams that you are going after. And that's where you will find a remarkable difference once you have created high standards for your life. Once you've taken the time to be honest with yourself, say, am I really putting the full effort into it? Am I really doing what is really necessary? Is this day in and day out type stuff? Is this something that I keep actively working on and constantly going after and hungering and thirsting after it? Is this something that I say to myself, I'm not going to allow this or that to stop me, because I've got some solid standards here, because this is important. We need to keep raising the bar on our life. There is levels that I don't think any of us have realized that we could possibly reach. And I always tell people that once we start doing the possible, God will lift us to the impossible. But He's waiting for us to do the possible. And setting a good, solid set of standards and getting your life in an order where you are doing what you need to do to achieve a goal. It's the actions that you have put together, and this becomes you. What a wonderful life that we can have, and it's right there for us. We can have all the blessings of it, and you can master the high standards. Your life will never be the same. And that's where it isn't about comparing ourselves to anyone else. It's what you can achieve in life. And that's where I hope this message here today on setting standards is a good one that will stick with you, that you can take a look at all the areas of your life that you're trying to achieve, areas that you want to improve on, areas that you maybe been spending years saying, I wish this could happen, but has never happened, that you can set up maybe a set of standards, set of action plans to achieve those goals. Standards and goals go hand in hand. Standards and dreams hand in hand. We have to have the standards. And a lot of times people have not developed them in their life. And I want to encourage you to have your best life now. And I want to thank you for spending time with me. And I will see you again next time. Thank you.